Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley and welcome to Forbes Living, where we focus on health, wealth, and happiness. And today my guest embodies all of those things. You know, it's often been said that you are the sum of the obstacles you overcome. Well, sadly, if we were in a contest, Victoria just might win. I think you're going to be blown away by the story. I also have to caution you that some of the things that we talk about might trigger you. If they do, please make sure that you take appropriate actions because this is one powerful story. Victoria Sanchez, please welcome. Welcome to the show. You have a lot to share, and I'm so very honored that you're spending today with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with, tell me about you.
My name is Victoria, you know that, and I am on a journey to help other traumatized victims survive and thrive through their trauma and their grief.
Well, now I'm not quite sure where I want to start, but let's start with what's going on in your mouth.
Well, in 2016, I got a flesh-eating bacteria. It's called mucormyosis, and most people can overcome the bacteria and the fungus in the air, but I had had so much trauma in my life that my body started getting an autoimmune disease. So when I was breathing normal like everybody else, my body didn't react the same way, and this bacteria got a hold of me and started eating away a hole in the roof of my mouth.
Wow.
And my sinuses, which the doctors couldn't figure out what it was. They just thought I was having sinusitis and bronchitis. So for about a year, I went back and forth to doctors. Everybody said they didn't know what they could do for me or if they could help me. About a year later, I was drinking water in my kitchen, and all of a sudden, all the water came out through my nose. And my sister was standing there, and I was just completely shocked. And I was like, what happened? And she goes, I don't know. I said, let me take a drink again. So I took another drink. All the water comes out through my nose again. And I said, you got to look in my mouth and see what's going on. Sure enough, I had developed a hole, and it was eating a hole in my palatal plate.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went back to the doctor, and they couldn't figure it out. So it was about 9 months, and this bacteria had gotten a hold of me so badly that it was eating away all of my sinuses. It had eaten away the center of my nose and was eating up into my brain.
Okay, so let's talk about, for people who don't quite understand, the roof of your mouth turns out to be the bottom of your skull. And I know this because I've had a lot of extensive braces and a lot of fixing in my mouth, that your jaw actually hangs off your head. Right. But your head stops right here. And there's a lot of things that happen vibrationally with that being the bottom of your brain, correct?
Yes, yes.
Now, in order to function every day, you have what looks like a retainer, and you have it here. So people can understand, and hold that up, just kind of hold it up. And don't move it, don't move it. I don't want to touch it. I think we get a close-up on that. It looks like my retainer, but for you, that plastic becomes the bottom of your plate, right?
Yes.
Okay. Put that down for a second and tell me, what happens when someone does not have that part of their body functioning?
The palatal plate is the mind and body connection. It's the sounding board. So when you don't have it, you don't reverberate, you don't vibrate, your frequencies are all different. Without the center of my nose, then I don't have left and right brain breathing.
Okay.
It was like my brain was taken apart in 4 different quadrants with only like electrical pulses reaching through to make connection.
Now, I will say that what's happening to you so far, you're being studied by some medical professionals from Harvard.
Yes.
Because it's a very unique, you've been a bit of a medical marvel. Medical marvel, is that it?
Yeah.
Kind of a medical marvel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you also had a near-death experience because of all of this trauma.
Yes.
What happened there?
Well, there was so much stress in my body. After the doctors performed surgery on me, they sent me home for a year. I had no help. I had nobody in my inner circle to talk to me, to be kind to me, to give me any sort of guidance. And my body surged out approximately a year after my surgery, and I died or had a near-death experience in my home. I laid there for 3 days in my home. I do have video cameras in my home, so I will never play that for anybody, but I did see it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I laid there. I knew I was going to pass on. I had put dog food out for my dogs, like a 50-pound bag of dog food for my 3 dogs in this big barrel. I had a huge barrel of water for them, and I left the door open so they could get in and out. And I told my husband that I was going to die, and I left messages for my children on video, each one of them, that I was going to die. I knew I was going to die. I knew my body could not take any more. So when I laid in my home that day, I felt this horrible burning sensation. I had gotten so huge, and I was smart enough to videotape everything. Even though my brain wasn't connected right anymore, I knew that I needed to videotape everything. I have pictures of my body just blown up like an elephant. I had so much toxicity. And I laid there, and it was so traumatic. I felt so much pain emotionally and in every cell of my body.
Wow.
I laid there until I felt like everything was rising from my bottom. Heat, 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 heat. I had a diamond necklace on, and when I came back to it, it literally burned off the chain. My body had gotten so hot. I felt the heat go out through the top of my head, which my brain had basically been separated. So that was logically, it made sense. And when that heat went out, all the pain in my body stopped. I literally left my body, and I went out into the other realm. Wow. I went beyond the veil, and how I always describe it is the footprints in the sand of Jesus. There's only one set. Well, I see it differently because I don't see me walking with him and carrying me. I merged with him. Our souls merged. I became one with him, and he took me on a journey to my father, who had passed on. Wow. I started having a replay of my entire life. And that must have been beautiful and scary all at the same time. I didn't see anything scary about it. Wow. Everything on the other side was just pure golden light and bright and beautiful. There was nothing scary. And I saw my father, not him. There is no faces on the other side. It was energy. I saw my father. It was like Jesus was guiding me, but he was inside of me. Interesting. And our souls merged, and he took me to my father, and my father took me to a camping trip when I was 6 years old. And it was on a mountain. It was so beautiful. It was something my father loved to do. So we went on this camping trip. I didn't see anything green, but it was like a visual of like watching TV. Right. So I got this whole replay, and I felt the energy of my father. And then I went into my Akashic Records. And you went into what? Akashic Records. Okay. It's your whole background. It's your karma, your mother's karma, your father's, all your genetic. All of this came downloaded to you? Yes, everything. I got all of their energies, all of their knowledge, all of their wisdom. It's like I was reprogrammed. I came back knowing quantum and meta. I can reprogram my DNA. I healed myself after I came back. But on that side, that camping trip, that was the last time that my father and I ever got to do anything together. Wow. It sounds beautiful and interesting beyond words. I'm not even quite sure of the words. Yeah. So now you have a mission. Yeah. What made you come back, by the way, if it was so beautiful there? Well, it's my duty, my spiritual duty and my calling to come back, because I had had so much trauma in my life, from rapes to beatings to murder to, there's just a gamut of stuff that I've had. And I was shown all that on the other side, but it wasn't anything that was awful. I saw it as an experience that I can embrace and bring back the knowledge here to show people that no matter what you go through, you can get through it. Because we're all on a mission here to do better and to be better and to have a good spirit for everybody. So you created a wellness program for yourself. Yeah. It's got components to it. What are some of those? So I do sound and vibration healing. I listen to solfeggio tones and binary beats to balance out my system, because your body is made out of mostly water, just like the ocean. Well, if you are not balanced out in your circadian rhythm, with the moon and the stars. Just like the ocean, the tides get wild.
Right.
Well, the same in your body. I don't have a mechanism that's automatic anymore. I have to manually shut my breathing down from one side. It's called alternate breathing, alternate nostril breathing.
Right.
And so I have to do that 4 times a day with the sun changing every 4 hours. If I don't, my circadian rhythm gets off, my stress level gets off. And all this self-discovery has taught me that everybody needs this.
Wow.
Everybody has to have a balanced circadian rhythm.
Would you look at my camera there and talk to a man or a woman who's been through some stress, who does not know that this is available?
This will help you if you have had any sort of stress in your life, if you aren't sleeping right, if you aren't eating right, if you have problems in your marriage, if you have problems with your anatomy, anything that you're having trouble with. This will help get your system regulated and bring you back in alignment so that you can have peace in your body and a flow of love, because we are all made of love energy. And a spirit, I came back so spiritual. I have this spirit in me that was sent back with me, and it's Jesus. I don't look at Jesus like people do anymore, or God as people do anymore. And everybody's always reaching out to pray for somebody, but Jesus is actually inside of you. So when you look in the mirror, you're seeing that reflection of you and Jesus inside of you. It makes me see things so differently now.
Where do people find out who and what you are? Where do they go?
VictoriaSanchezCoaching.com.
I love that. Now, I do want to take a little left turn here, because you talk about trauma, and everyone has got some level of trauma or stress in their life. But this is the part where I think this might trigger you. You have had, I can't even describe a level of some of your trauma. Let's start with your aunt.
Yes.
Describe this for us.
I was a young girl, and my Aunt Diane, she was just precious. She was an alcoholic, but she was precious, that lady. She could make you laugh, and she just loved me. I was her favorite. That was my mom's younger sister. And because she drank very heavily, she ended up in bars. And we used to have to go get her. She'd end up in a dump truck somewhere on the river and call my mom and dad. And hey, I'm lost out here. Well, she got involved with the wrong guy one time. She married this man that she met in the bar. He was a serial murderer.
Say his name, because there is a documentary about this that really I've watched. It's a little devastating.
His name was Carol Edward Cole. The Ed Cole scandals. I got the chills just thinking about it, because I listened to it as well. And he was a cannibal. He had sex with women after they were dead. And
he murdered all 20 women.
There was around 20 women. And he had been doing this since he was a child. He killed someone on my birthday, on my son's birthday, and I'm very into numbers now. And I didn't even realize this till I played this documentary recently. But he came to me when I had my surgery on May 16th, because this is a date that everything happens in my life, and that's when I lost my palatal plate. And he came to me in the hospital, and that's when I started looking up the documentary. I don't know, his energies came to me.
Right.
So anyway, I started looking up his information to find out more about him and what happened.
But you used to sit in your house with him.
Yes.
And you would hear about local murders, and he was sitting right next to you.
Yes, he was murdering women, and my father, we were in California, and my father actually took him on a business trip during the afternoon to a hotel. He told my father that he had a meeting with someone there. My father was a businessman. He met with people all over the place, so it was not foreign to him.
Right.
So he goes up to the hotel. Apparently he murdered a woman while my dad was waiting. He gets back in the car with my father and comes home, and we sit there watching TV that night, and they talk about how this woman was found dead and cut up and eaten in her hotel. And I am sitting as a young girl right next to him in the living room watching this on the news. Never knew that he was one. He never acted like anything was wrong.
Now, when all this news came out, and obviously he got arrested and put away for a long time, what was your reaction?
I was numb to it, I think, for a long time. I think it's just really been coming to me since my palatal plate has been out. Since I lost that, my sensitivity has come, it's so strong that I get all of these past karma, all this past energy, and it flows through me, but I learn through it. I embrace it, and I learn through it. I don't take it the way I used to. I learn from it.
Okay, the final part of this conversation is, yes, you've been through trauma before this with your own family. This is the most outrageous story that I've heard. Although I do know the son of a serial killer, the last man who was executed on television, and I've watched, and he and I are friends. It's a fascinating story as well. But the last negative thing that will ever happen to you, as far as I'm concerned, is your son. I'm sorry, I got very emotional.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Would you share with my audience what happened to your baby boy?
My son, Cody, he was a prodigy. That little boy and me, we did everything together. I homeschooled him. I opened a store called Cody's Gift Shop because I was going to have a business for him when he got older. I was setting him up to succeed in life. And through all of the trauma in my family, my marriage and everything, it put Cody and I in a bad way. There was a lot of confusion the last 6 months of his life, and he ended up around people that were maybe not the best for him. And they were with him the night that he got shot in the back of the head with an AR-15, and they told the police and my attorney that it was an accident. But there was 4 of them in the back of the truck. 2 of them were military. They were shooting from the back of the truck, egging my son to continue shooting because they knew he'd hit whatever he shot because he was going to be an Olympic shooter. I mean, that's what he was geared up for. And they acted like they didn't know he was in the back of the truck, I guess, because when he shot at a rabbit, and he turned around and he was bending over to get his earplugs, and the guy that shot him in the back of the head, he ended up turning the gun to the middle of the truck where my son was and shooting him as he was coming up from getting his earplugs.
Do you think it was an accident?
No, absolutely not. No.
You have decided to go on a memorial ride, and so we've been having this out here the entire time. Tell me what I'm looking at here.
This right here is a picture of me, and that day was the first day I got to put on my son's glasses, and I just felt his presence so much, and I just had a really happy spirit. So that's the center of my journey, to start there. And up here, this is where my life stopped. That was the last time I ever got to do anything for my son.
Right, and I've seen that urn, which is very powerful, of
Yeah.
your son.
It's an eternal flame. And he has his Olympic shooting suit there and his boots, and he never got to walk down an aisle because I homeschooled him, but his cap and gown is there. And there's hundreds of medals all draped down the front of that. A friend made that, and they carried him like he was a king, and which he is. And so this right here was the last time I ever got to do anything special for anybody. And that's been...
Well, I don't know if that's true. I think that you created a Cody ride, a memorial ride. I think that you are destined on this planet to help a lot of people. I think that you're going to help a lot of the people who watch this, who come to know you, who hear your story. I think what you've gone through, I said at the very beginning of this program, that I preach that you are the sum of the obstacles you overcome.
Yeah.
It makes you quite a queen, my girl.
Thank you.
You have gone through so much. We need to wrap up our interview. Will you share any final thoughts with my audience right there?
Yes, if you're going through trauma, through abuse of any kind, don't be afraid to get help. Reach out. Don't stay quiet like I did. Don't harbor this all. because it'll eat you up inside to the point, like I did. I had so much trauma that it ate a hole in the roof of my mouth because my system got so overwhelmed it couldn't fight anything off. So be strong, reach out to me. I want to start a Facebook group for people that are grieving and have severe trauma and don't have anyone to talk to. I want to create a platform for everybody to talk and be free and safe to talk. I've never felt safe. I want you to have a safe place.
And so where are you sending people to go?
Right now, until I get my Facebook up, it's going to be victoriasanchezcoaching.com.
victoriasanchezcoaching.com. I'm looking right at you and telling you that's what you need to check out. Victoria, I want to thank you so very much for your time, for sharing with my audience today the most profound story of survival, of thriving, and I wish you all the continued best. And I feel Cody over your shoulder. I know that he's watching you, and as we're all watching each other, I'm Forbes Riley. I'll see you again next time. Thank you so much for watching.